Go ahead. So here we go. You can start, John. Please go ahead.
Okay. So my presentation is going to be pretty fast and short and sweet. Um, Something that I was interested in was the earlier presentation we had about the wedding traditions in Morocco. And I kind of wanted to elaborate on those ideas a little bit more and kind of take like another review from it and kind of get some more ideas. So the focus of this presentation is on Islamic wedding traditions, not in a specific sector or specific region, just kind of some general terms in general that are typically shared throughout the regions. So the first one to discuss here will be the manji. This is similar to like the Christian betrothal. It is where you exchange the rings and the gifts between the groom and the bride. A lot of these sort of traditions are ceremonial, some of them not so. Again, it kind of depends on where you are in the region. The next tradition is seeing, sorry, I'm trying to move my bar here. So the Sianchat, it precedes the wedding ceremony. And this is a really interesting one found in Islamic culture where the groom's family actually picks out the outfit that the bride will wear at the nikah. And a lot of times also can present jewelry, and they just kind of like, it's a big preparation for this wedding ceremony and the signing of this nikah ceremony. The next one, this is the one that we were familiar with from our other presentation, the Mahandi. This is basically the ceremony in the area where the bride gets the henna tattoos. And it's a big deal. Mostly women are involved with this one, kind of like the spa day and the Moroccan tradition. But this is typically a tradition that's kind of pretty consistent throughout the various regions as to the brides getting this sort of ornamentation on them. And then we have the nikah. The nikah is the ceremony of the marriage contract. This is a pretty exclusive ceremony, is from what I hear, and it involves the groom and the bride essentially signing the contract of their marriage. And it outlines the different things. I have another slide later that's going to talk about kind of what's involved in this contract and such. But yeah, it's a very ornamental place, and it's kind of the more focus of a lot of traditional Islamic weddings. This is kind of the wedding itself. From what I read historically, a lot of these weddings weren't very ceremonial. They pretty much were this marriage contract, and so everything else that is around this has been developed throughout the centuries. Rakshat, I didn't know about this one from the other one. From the other presentation, but this is actually when the bride leaves her family one last time. I can only imagine how emotional this is. You can see it kind of in the mom's face here, and the mother's face here. But I guess it's pretty central throughout the marriage of the Islamic culture that the woman is becoming the family of the groom. So the bride is becoming the family of the groom, and so the ceremonial leaving is quite a central part to it. Walima, this is the wedding reception itself. Big grand party, depending on what's available to you. This is basically happens after the nikah and kind of is the party and the reception of the wedding. So Mahir, this is the parts of the marriage contract. This is kind of about what the groom can provide to the bride. There's two parts of it. The prompt is due before the wedding, and the rest is specified thereafter. This is signed by the groom and the bride and two male witnesses, or can also be signed by the parents of the groom and the bride. And it could either be a formality, such as a ring, or it could be more substantial real estate, like gold, land, and education. The nikah itself is the signing of that contract. A lot of times it can be either between the groom and the bride's parents, but basically the central part of it is that the groom states the details of the mahir, and then the bride demonstrates her autonomy by saying, by repeating Kabul 3 times, which is Arabic for I accept. And there could be a small celebration afterward with some fruit and fun stuff.
Yeah, Kabul, which means acceptance.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
There isn't a whole lot of vows in the wedding reception. It's most couples don't really recite a whole lot of vows because it's all basically in the nikah ceremony. But if there is some sort of vow ceremony, it usually comes from the officiant of the wedding, reciting different parts of the Quran about the obligations of marriage. This last slide, I was just kind of like reflecting on general of all the Christian weddings I've been a part of. There's a lot of differences between Islamic wedding traditions and the Christian traditions here in the States. And so, a few that I like to point out is that the wedding celebration is usually held in a single day here in the States. The wedding contract really isn't a formal ceremony. A lot of times it's just signed by the two parties and the witness. And it's just like a very simple document, like a license you can get from the courthouse. And also, many brides and grooms take very creative liberties in their vows. There's lots of funny ways that people exchange their vows. There's also emotional ways. But the fact that there really isn't anything quite as structured as seems in Islamic culture is something that I thought was pretty interesting. But yeah, that's kind of all I got. I got a lot of the sources from these two places. The first one is where I got most of the pictures and most of the terminology. And the second one is where I got more information about the Mahir and the Nikah. And that's the rest of my presentation.
Thank you, John. Very concise, straightforward, good job. And yeah, coming up with a presentation of this form, this means that you have read a lot and you understood, similarities and differences, and you put them into a very concise and informative presentation. Very good job, John. Thank you very much for your great work. Good, please. I would love someone else to go next. Specifically people who have, let's say, their projects in the form of presentations like John's ones, okay?
I have one.
Okay, good. Perhaps other people prepared videos. So yeah, let's move on to Nathan, hoping that we will be able to cover all your projects in today's session, inshallah. Good, go ahead, please, Nathan.
I can't, it's not letting me screen share.
Yeah, okay, let me share. Okay.
Wait, stop.
Stop sharing the screen, John, please.
There, okay, just figured it out.
Thank you.
Can you see my presentation?
Very good, Charles.
All right, so I am doing mine over Chefchaouen, the Blue City. So a little backstory on Chefchaouen. It was founded in 1471 by Mullah Ali bin Musa bin Rashid al-Alami, who is thought to be one of the descendants of the Prophet Muhammad. It started as a fortress to help defend against Portuguese invaders. And during that time, it kind of became a settlement and more people started settling around the area. And then it was captured by Spain in 1920, but was given back to Morocco when Morocco got its independence in 1956. So that's kind of where it was started. And then a big question that is asked about the city is, why is it blue? And there are a few reasons that I found for this. And one of them is to follow Jewish custom and culture, because during the Holocaust, many Jewish people fled to this city to take shelter. And in Jewish culture, blue kind of represents the sky, and to remind them of God and heaven and things like that. And so it's a big custom in Jewish culture to paint things blue. But it's still kind of weird because Jewish people kind of had just a part of town, so they lived in one certain part of town, so it doesn't really explain why the whole city is blue. But some people think that possibly people noticed that in the Jewish part of town, there weren't as many mosquitoes. So they thought perhaps the blue repelled mosquitoes and bugs like that. So they decided to paint the rest of the town just to help keep the mosquitoes away. Another thought is it just helped keep cool. So many locals say that the blue helps keep their homes cool. So that could be a reason. A third option is to represent water because it's really close to the Mediterranean Sea, which is a big part of Morocco. And so maybe it was just to reflect on the water. And then a fourth and more surface level reason is people just thought it looked nice. Maybe they saw the Jewish community had painted their houses and they just liked how it looked, so they decided to follow suit and kind of became a trend. But now it mostly stays blue. Like people don't really paint over it, just out of like a tradition. It's kind of just a staple of the city, and so they just kind of want to keep it that way because they think it's a fun aspect of their city. And then there are lots of things to do in Chefchaouen. You can take guided tours around the city. You can go into the mountains. As you can see from the picture, it's got quite the terrain around it. So it's right next to the Rift Mountains, so you can hike in there. You can go to the Lina Riyadh and Spa, which is one of these pictures, which is supposed to be a really nice spa. It looked awesome. There was one picture of it that had like a really nice pool area. So that was cool. And then you can also just get lost and explore the city. There's
I love this one, Nathan. I love this one, the last one.
Yeah. I'm going to show you a video just to give insight about what it's like to walk around Chefchaouen, because it seems like they have plenty of markets and plenty of things to do and just kind of sightsee around the city.
My favorite thing about my Squarespace is seeing all of my pieces.
And welcome to Chefchaouen, called the Blue Pearl of
that's everything about Chefchaouen.
Thank you, Nathan. Shukran. Thank you for shedding light on this, let's say, beautiful, wonderful Moroccan city. Actually, it's one among the first choices of tourists when they come to Morocco. It's in the north. It's near to, let's say, to Europe. So people, yeah, prefer to start with Tangier, then move into Tetuan and Chefchaouen. Okay, so the north of Morocco actually worth visiting. Very nice, let's say, place. Good. Thank you very much, Nathan, for your efforts. We appreciate your hard work. Great job. Thank you very much. Please, who would love to go next?
I'll go next. I actually ended up doing a presentation rather than a video.
Go ahead, please. Let me just modify the settings. Good. Go ahead, please. Cheyenne, the floor is yours.
Okay. So I made Moroccan mint tea, and it was really good. But I'm gonna walk through the process of making it. So I decided that if I was gonna do it, I was gonna do it right. So I bought a teapot, and I bought some cups and a tray. And I think the cups that I actually ended up buying are too small. So I think they're actually Turkish coffee cups.
Yeah, what's that? Yeah, good.
So, I mean, they're really pretty and I love them. And I'm going to be making mint tea a lot more. So I figured I'd just keep them anyway. So this is the recipe that I used. 7 mint sprigs, one big teaspoon of gunpowder tea, which is Chinese green tea rolled into pellets. And that's why it's called gunpowder. Boiling water and 3 tablespoons of sugar. I didn't use 3 tablespoons. I actually only used 2. And it's still very sweet. So lots of sugar. Okay, so this is the process. I took a lot of pictures while I was doing it. So this is actually the gunpowder green tea. This is how much sugar I used, and this is my mint. And I used mint that I pulled from my garden, and because I love mint, so it's actually fresh mint. I figured that would work better than trying to go buy mint from the store that had been sitting for a long time. So that's what I did. This is my stove, this is my teapot, and I used my kettle. The first step is to boil your water and to put your green tea leaves into the Moroccan teapot, and you're gonna like wait for your water to boil. So the next thing is to put half a cup about of boiled water into the teapot, the Moroccan teapot, and let it sit for 1 minute. Don't swirl it, don't touch it, don't mess with it. Let it sit for 1 minute. And I set a timer so that it would steep for the right amount. And then you're gonna actually pour this into a cup and set it aside. People call this the spirit or the soul of the tea because it's the first contact with the water to the tea leaves. So it really is like the essence of the tea. So the next step is to do that step again. You're gonna pour another half cup of boiled water into the teapot. This time you're gonna swirl it because it actually is gonna clean the tea leaves. So the first contact unfurls the green tea leaves, so they're long and skinny. And the second one, when you swirl it, is cleaning the tea leaves. So you pour this into a second cup, but this cup you discard. So you're not gonna keep this one because you're rinsing the tea leaves. Okay, so the next step, you're gonna put your mint, your sugar, the tea spirit, that first cup of water, back into the Moroccan teapot, and then you're gonna fill it with more boiled water, and then you're gonna boil it slowly. I didn't realize what temperature, so I actually had it really, really low, and I had to crank up the heat a lot to get it to boil. But you want a slow boil so it doesn't like burn the tea leaves or scorch the water. You want it to get a slow steep so it kind of absorbs the taste of the mint and the tea. And it lets the sugar caramelize. Okay, so the next step is stirring the tea. The recipe that I followed said to use a spoon, and I knew that that was not something that's traditional. So, because I'd done a lot of research, and a lot of people actually pour the tea into a cup and then pour the cup back into the teapot. And some recipes suggest doing this up to 7 times. I did it about 5. And I used a large cup because I don't have Moroccan teacups. I really got to get some Moroccan teacups. So I poured because this was more traditional, and I got to practice pouring from really high, which was fun. But you also want to use a tea towel because the whole teapot gets really, really hot. So the next step is to serve and enjoy it, and I actually put fresh mints in my cups, and because my cups were really small, I couldn't get the height that I wanted. A lot of people pour from up to a foot away from the glass. So this ended up being as far as I could get mine, because just the height of my cups. And this is me drinking my tea. It was delightful. And I actually kept the remainder because I have a really big teapot. And so I put the rest of my tea in the fridge and I iced it. I'm drinking it this morning.
Yeah, so you had both read first. So first thing you have read about preparing tea, then you try to pass what you have read into practice, which is a very good thing. And I hope that your colleagues will go for the same thing. Please try it, and you will enjoy it. Yes, Ryan?
It's really good. I didn't put nearly enough sugar as Moroccans like, which is good for me. I don't like super sweet drinks, but some people who have a really nice
this actually, Cheyenne, sorry for interrupting. Actually, this varies. I mean, from one place to another, depending on each person. But generally speaking, it's the same steps.
Awesome. It was really fun. It was fun to like try something that I hadn't done. And I have a Moroccan teapot, so I get to make it all the time. So.
Yeah, cool. Good. Great. Thank you, Cheyenne. Thank you. Thank you for trying that and sharing this with your colleagues. I'm sure that they will try one day. I mean, preparing Moroccan tea and sharing it with the members of their families or their friends. Thank you very much, Cheyenne. Good job. Please, who will go for the next? Yes, next presentation, next presenter. Yes.
I can go.
Okay, Kayana, please go ahead.
Okay, so like most of you know, I made a video game for my final that's entirely in Arabic.
Good. Good.
Let's hope it's right. Can you enable screen sharing for me?
Yeah, I did. Could you please just retry?
Thank you. I guess just share screen. Okay, I hope this works. Can y'all see it?
Yeah.
Awesome. Okay. So it's kind of like made like the Kahoot that we had. Yeah, I just basically programmed my own Kahoot. So I sent it to each of you. Can I remember? Is the true question. This is the true test of my own knowledge. I don't think I can.
Yeah.
But also, I found some fire music. I'm just saying, if y'all want the links, it's fire. But not here. Ooh. I'm embarrassing myself for y'all's enjoyment. But up here it has the score. Okay, that one was right. It's 22. Dang, that was wrong. Y'all can stop laughing now, okay? Chef. That's, haha. Shoot. Anyway. I really can't remember it, and I made the game. That's what's killing me right now. I made this. Holy hell. Sorry, guys, it's been an all-nighter. Okay. Okay. And there's only 10 questions. I'm not really special.
Yeah, okay. Mm-hmm.
Dang it. That's cooking.
مدرس.
That was Salah. Adraj. Okay, and then underscore. We only got
Yeah.
8 out of 10, so that's okay. I sent it to y'all, so y'all should be able to get it. I'm not for sure if y'all have, well, I sent it to y'all through like a share in OneDrive, so y'all should have access to download and play the game as you want, but it's only 10 questions. I just thought it would be fun to like mix in my major as a video game development major and then Arabic.
Thank you, Kayana. Yeah, it seems that you are very good at preparing, let's say, interactive games.
Thank you.
Yeah, you should train us on how to do so in the coming days.
Of course.
Yeah, good. So please, could you please just share with us the game in Moodle, and the same thing for John and Nathan. Could you please share with us your presentations in Moodle page, okay? We still have more presenters. I hope that we will be able to cover both presentations. Emily, could you please go and try to be very specific?
Yes.
Good. Yeah. Let me enable. Okay. Screen share. Okay. Yeah. Yeah. Here you go. Emily, please. You can start.
All right. You guys see my screen? Can you guys see my screen?
Yes.
All right. So I made some Moroccan couscous. It was a lot more challenging than I thought it would be. It took a lot of time, but it went well. I like the way it tasted, so that's good. I think I made it right. And I decided to follow a pretty traditional recipe. And I also did mine vegan because my roommate's vegan, and just something from the textbook. You can say free from dairy products by saying Khalin min muntajat al-alban. That's free from dairy products. But yeah, and also it's the version I made was Khalin min al-mukassarat. It's also free from nuts. Good for any of you with nut allergies. So here's some facts about couscous, just some interesting ones, kind of about the origins of it. So it's not 100% certain where it originates from, but it's thought to originate from the Berbers of Algeria and Morocco. And it's somewhere between the 11th and 13th century. So that's between the end of the Zirid dynasty and the rise of the Almohad Caliphate. And interesting enough, it was just like, there's like a book that was found, and couscous was mentioned in it. And the book was called Kitab al-Tabik fi al-Maghrib wa
Andalus.
Yes.
Yeah, كتاب الطبخ في المغرب والأندلس.
And just to speed up a little so everyone has time, I don't own a couscous here. So I had to kind of make do with what I could find in my city. And so I used a vegetable steamer, and it works similarly So on the top is where you put the couscous, which is like the grain. In the bottom, you would put the broth, and it would like whenever it's steaming it seeps up and like it absorbs the flavor. So the dish I was using wasn't deep enough for that, so I was only able to put a little bit of the broth at a time, and I had the broth cooking in a separate pan. And I did a 7 vegetable recipe. And so here it's just like the couscous you can look at, and also it's important to get the Moroccan couscous and not the Israeli couscous if you're trying to do Moroccan couscous. And here's the broth seasoning, and of course if you want to do meat, you would add the meat, and that makes the broth a lot more rich in flavor. If you're doing vegan or vegetarian, you should add more oil to keep it like flavorful. And then here are all the vegetables I used, except for I did not do the fava beans, but I did all of the other ones. And it takes a lot of time to do all of those. And make sure you soak the dried chickpeas overnight before you cook. I actually soaked mine for several nights because I kept not cooking it. So yeah, but those are all the things. And I made a video, and I will go ahead and show you it. And there's no sound, so.
Okay, go please.
So there's like the ingredients for the couscous. And there's the initial ingredients for the broth. And that's me making the beginnings of the broth. That's ginger, and tomato. And this part takes like about 45 minutes to get the broth going. I'm trying to do a little, artistic thing. There's the soaked dried chicken and parsley and cilantro tied into the glaze. And that's just me showing how much time it took to cut all of the things.